my name is Shauna and I'm going to be teaching you today. And the book we will be reading is Decision. This is the book we will be reading today. With me are my students Jingran and Sally on Zoom. And we're going to be doing sort of an in-person and hybrid model of how to do a read aloud. So let's get started. So first we're going to review some vocabulary. I will say the word and you will repeat after me. Okay, so I will go first and then you will go second. Water.
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 Food.
Food.
House.
House.
School.
School.
Village.
Village.
Meeting.
Meeting.
Okay, we're going to review one more time and we're going to do some actions. We will act it out. So for the first one, water.
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 Food.
Food.
House.
House.
School.
School.
Village.
Village.
And the last one, meeting.
Meeting.
Okay. Now we will play a game to practice the vocabulary words. Okay. Our game is called word search. I will say the word and you will look, you will search, where is it? And you will point and say the word. So Jingran will help show how to do it. Okay. Okay. The first word is house. House.
Is that the house?
That is the house. Good job. Okay, Sally, you're up next. Your word is school.
School.
Can you find which one? I can help you point.
There, in the middle. I think. I can't see that far.
There you go.
Oh, that's village. Off to your right, my left. Yes.
Perfect. Yes, good job. You found school. Good job. Okay, let's do one more round. Okay, Jingran, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, your word is meeting. Meeting. Where is meeting?
There. Meeting.
Good, meeting. All right, Sally, your turn. Are you ready? I'm gonna help bring you closer to us. Your word is food.
Food. Top, middle.
This one?
Yeah. Begins
Good
with that.
job. Food. Nice. And if we were both in person, I would maybe have you do a race and you would find the word to see who can do it faster. Okay, now that we know our vocabulary words, we're going to do a little activity. So the story we will read today is called Decision. I want you to think of a time that you had to make a decision. So you had to decide. For example, do you like purple? Oh, those are not different. Do you like green or blue? What do you like better? Jingran?
I like blue.
Blue. So Jingran made a decision that she likes blue best. She decided. So I want you to think of a time that you made a decision. Maybe you made a decision at school. Maybe you had to make a decision at your house. What will I wear to school today? I will wear a blue sweater. That is my decision. I want you to talk with a partner. You will talk with a partner for 5 minutes about what your decision was. What decision did you make? Was it an easy decision? Was it a hard decision? I don't know. Was it hard? Was your decision the right one? Or would you do something different? Would you choose, Jingren, would you choose blue the first time? Maybe you decide, no, actually I like green better. Okay, so I want you to talk with your partner for 5 minutes. Okay, I will pretend to leave.
Hello, what was your decision that you had to make?
I decided yesterday not to play volleyball after school. I was making the decision between going to play volleyball and not going to play because I wanted to play volleyball, but I had lots of homework and it's getting dark. So I feel like it's unsafe and it's that I need to finish my homework first. So at last I decided not to play volleyball until I finished my homework. What about you, Sally?
I had to choose between reading a book for book club or watching the Olympics. And I love the Olympics. So I watched the Olympics instead of reading the book for book club. So I went to book club, but I didn't contribute very much to the discussion because I'd watched the Olympics instead, and they were fabulous.
Will you choose to read the book next time instead of watching the Olympics? Or you will still choose watching Olympics?
Watching the Olympics. The book was okay, but the Olympics are better. And they don't happen very often.
Okay, your 5 minutes are over. So would someone in the group like to share what you talked about?
Well, Jingren was being very sensible. She chose to do her homework instead of going to play volleyball when it was getting dark and maybe not as safe as if it were sunny. I, on the other hand, decided to watch the Olympics instead of reading the book that I was supposed to have read for book club.
And Jingren, do you think you made the right decision?
Well, I kind of regret it because I see all my friends chatting on the internet that what fun they have. So I kind of missed that part. And I may try with playing volleyball with my friends next time.
So maybe in the future, Jingren will make a different decision. Okay. Okay, great. Well, now we're going to start reading our book. We're going to look at the cover of our book that's called Decision. This is the cover of our book. What do you see? What do
I see
you
a lot of people.
A lot of people.
I see a tree.
A
I
tree.
see a kid in the tree. I think it's a kid.
Yeah, a kid, a person in the tree.
Yeah.
And there are adults, but there are also children.
Children, some adults. Yeah,
And I think it's a village because I see there are houses. in
all the
back.
houses. So maybe they all know each other in the village.
Their expressions are pretty serious.
Yeah, so how do you think they're feeling based on that?
I think they're very concerned about something.
Mm.
I
Maybe-
don't know what, but something.
Yeah, maybe they're concerned or worried about something. What do you think will happen in the story? Can you make a guess?
Because we were talking about decision making, so maybe they are having a discussion about a decision.
Mhm. Sally, do you have a guess of what you think might happen?
It's pretty serious and it's going to involve the whole village, I think.
Hmm,
I don't know.
okay. So we're thinking maybe they have to make a decision about something, and maybe it's a pretty serious decision. It's a big decision. All right, so let's read our story to find out what happens. Decision. My village had many problems. We made a long line to fetch water from one tap.
Oh,
We waited for food donated by others.
wow.
We locked our houses early because of thieves.
Ooh.
Many children dropped out of school. So let's pause here. What is the setting of the story? Where is it taking place?
It's taking place in the village
Mm-hmm.
and they have a lot of concerns or problems.
Yeah, so let's think about it. What has happened so far? What problems have they had?
They have to go get water and there's only one place to get it in the village.
Mm-hmm. There's only one tap.
Yep. And there's not much food. And then
There's not much food. What else? Jingren, what do you notice?
Yeah, and the house is not safe. There are thieves.
Mm-hmm. It's not safe at night.
Yeah, and children are dropping out from school.
Yeah, so there's many problems so far. Let's keep reading to find out what will happen. Young girls worked as maids in other villages. Young boys roamed around the village while others worked on people's farms.
wow.
When the wind blew, waste paper hung on the trees and the fences. People were cut by broken glass that was thrown carelessly.
Oh boy.
Then one day, the tap dried up and our containers were empty.
Oh, that's really bad.
So let's pause here again. What are some of the problems in the village?
I remember that it's quite dangerous. There are papers flying all over, and
Mhm.
also there are, I don't remember, but glass falling on people.
Yeah, there's glass that's cutting people's feet.
And there's no school for the kids. So the older kids, at least, the girls have to work as maids and the boys are either working on the farm or they're just running around and probably getting into trouble.
Yeah, many of the children had to drop out of school so that they could go to work, or they're not doing anything. What do you think will happen next?
I think that they are worried about the situation because people got hurt and they might want to find a solution.
So Jingran's thinking maybe they want to find a solution because there's lots of problems.
Yes. And it's not going to be easy to solve these problems.
Yeah, and Sally's thinking that the solution won't be easy. All right, let's keep reading. My father walked house to house, asking people to attend a village meeting. People gathered under a big tree and listened. My father stood up and said, "We need to work together to solve our problems." This is the father. So let's stop here. What did the father do? What did he do when he saw all the problems?
He got everybody together so they could talk about it.
In a meeting, remember? So they
In a
could
meeting
talk
under a tree.
Yeah. And then now that we know that he called a meeting, what did he say at the meeting?
We have to work together.
We have to work together, he said. So what do you think the people will do? Can you guess how the story will end?
I think they will each of them share their ideas.
Yeah, maybe they'll all share their ideas of a solution.
And one of the first things they need to do is get water. That's a biggie. I don't know how they're going to do that, though.
All right, so let's read the end to find out what happens. 8-year-old Juma, sitting on a tree, shouted, "I can help with cleaning up." This is him on the tree. One woman said, "The women can join me to grow some food." Another man stood up and said, "The men will dig a well." We all shouted with one voice, "We must change our lives." From that day, we worked together to solve our problems. The end. All right, so before we read the story, we thought that there would be a big decision that they would have to make. And maybe it would be a serious decision because of their faces. So let's review the story. What was the setting? Where did the story take place?
In a village.
In a village, good. And who were some of the characters? Can you remember some of the people in the story?
I remember that there were girls. There were girls who work as maid and boys dropping out from the school. And then there is a father who stand up and propose that people collaborate and work together to find a solution. And then there's a boy volunteer who shows up and then a woman, and later a man,
Yeah.
all propose their ideas.
Mhm. So it's all the people of the village who are the characters. Can someone tell me what happened in the beginning? What happened in the beginning of the story?
Things started not going so well. It was not a prosperous village to begin with, and then they ran out of water. If you don't have water, you can't grow food, and the kids were trying to find work, so they were leaving school and doing jobs instead of learning. And then things were kind of a mess.
Yeah, so in the beginning, things were not going well for the village and they had many, many problems. But what was the turning point? What was the point in the story where things changed?
A father stands up and proposes that people work together to have a meeting and to find solutions together.
Yeah, so the turning point in the story when there was something that changed was the father stood up and he said, we need to do something. We need to work together. And that's when things changed.
And then the little boy spoke out and he said that he could help clean up some of the trash that was blowing around.
Yeah, so what were some of the other ways that they solved the problem? So the boy stood up and he said, I can help clean. What other ways did they solve the problems?
The women were going to work together to grow food.
Mm-hmm.
And the men were going to work together to dig a well or more than one well so they could get the water.
Yeah, exactly. The women were going to grow the food. The men were going to dig the well to help them get water. Yeah, so they all started to work together. So now, what did you learn from this story? We heard there's many problems. The father stood up and said, we need to make a change. And then at the end, they were all able to solve their problems. What did you learn?
I learned that if we want to solve a problem, we need to stand up and to think together. If we do nothing, nothing will be changed.
And we all have good ideas. And sometimes all of the ideas, like in this story, worked together to make the whole thing better.
Yeah, so sometimes we can't do it by ourselves. We need everyone to work together to make it better. Good. Yeah.
Yeah, and just want to add, like, everyone can be a contributor, that they each have their own strengths and their own, that you have the potential that you can never ever imagine.
Yeah, we learned quite a bit from this story. So now we will think about some wondering questions. So when we wonder about a story, we share our feelings or our ideas. So there are no right or wrong answers. Okay, so it's about how you feel about the story. There's no correct way, there's no wrong way. It's just your feelings, what you feel in your heart. Okay. So the first one to think about and to wonder about, I wonder what part of the story you liked.
I like the part where they finally the little guy up in the tree started him off with an idea of what he could do. And then everybody chimed in, and I liked that part.
So Sally liked the part when the one boy stood up and said he had an idea and he started everybody thinking. Sally, I wonder why you liked that part.
because it was a little kid and he had a good idea. And that, I think everybody felt that if a little kid could have a good idea, well, I can too.
So Sally liked that part because she liked that the boy was so young. He was a little kid and he had a good idea. And that made others think, well, I can do it too. Thank you for sharing, Sally.
I agree. And I just want to add, I like the little boy who stand up first, and then the woman, and then the man, so that I feel a sense of a community that each one, no matter you are young, you are female, you are male, that everyone can really contribute to something to some extent. And so that is not a certain character that is super powerful, but each one of us are quite equal and can really make a change in our own roles.
So Jingren liked the part when everybody stood up and contributed, not just one person. Everyone had ideas. I wonder why you liked that part.
Because that gives me a sense of community and also the affirmation of each individual, that no matter about the gender, the age, that there is a message that we are all powerful in making changes to the world.
Yes, I'm hearing from Jingren that she liked that part because it was when everyone came together as a community and everyone made a difference, not just one person. I wonder if you ever had to solve a problem. And I wonder how you solved that problem.
Well, for me, I once can't figure out an answer to a math task. And I think it through for like half an hour, but I feel that I still don't know why. I still don't know how to do it. So I asked help from my friends. And then she taught me, like she did not just tell me the answer, but she also lead me through the question, like, why should we think that way? How is the logic going? And finally, I kind of understood. And I feel like that sometimes the problem, like it's not a big problem, but a small question. But if sometimes we feel powerless to solve it, we can always ask for help. We can ask advice from our peers and from our friends, from the community. Then we can solve the problem together.
So Jingren had a problem with a really tough math question. And it was so hard for her. And she ended up having a friend who came and helped her take the time and explain and eventually solve the problem. Thank you for sharing. Sally, I wonder if you've ever had to solve a problem. And I wonder how you solve that.
I recently was one who helped to solve a problem because my grandkids had early rehearsals and their mother's car had to go into the shop to pass inspection. So we figured out that my son-in-law could take the kids to school and I could follow their mother to the inspection station, and then I could drive her to her school. And so we solved the problem, and I was really glad I didn't have to get up so early to get my grandchildren to rehearsal at 7:10 at school in the morning. And I could take my daughter at 7:30 to take her car and then take her to school. Doesn't sound like much, but I liked not having to get up totally early. But that's how I was able to help them.
Yeah, thank you. So Sally shared about a time that she helped her family solve a problem with taking the kids to school and with the car being in the shop and needing to be repaired. So Sally helped to solve that problem and make sure that the grandkids were where they needed to be. So you helped solve that problem. And I wonder, Sally, how did that make your daughter feel? That when you helped her?
She said to me, "Mom, you're always rescuing me." And that made me feel good.
Yeah, thank you. So when you helped her, your daughter was just so happy and so grateful. All right.
And
Well,
I was glad to be able to do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you both for sharing your feelings and your experiences. Now for the last activity we're going to do, we need to take these down. And we will have our own problem-solving meeting. So as a class, we will work together to solve a problem, okay? But first, we're gonna make a list of some problems. So think about the story we read, think about the problems you shared, and I want you to tell me if there are any problems from the story that are similar to problems you have. Have any of these problems happened to you in your life?
Similar to the story to some extent, that when they're in the part where there are glass falling down, the paper all over the trees, I can see that in the place where I live, there sometimes are too many garbage as well, that I feel like that the community is not clean. And yeah, I can see papers on the street, which is similar to the situation in the story.
So Jiren shared that in her community, there was once garbage on the street. Okay, what other problems can we think of that happened to you that you noticed in the book?
One summer, our climate is changing, and we had a really, really dry spell. And people normally have gardens and they turn on the sprinkler and the water just waters and nobody pays attention to how much water they're using or what is really going on. And so that time, everybody really had to work together, and we were very, very careful about watering either early in the morning before the sun came up, or and then sometimes after the sun went down, so that the water would stay in the ground and nourish the plants.
Okay,
And
so before we start solving the problems, let's keep thinking about some more ideas here because I want you to solve with your group.
oh,
So what Sally said is that there was a lot of dry weather. So they were trying not to use much water, not using too much water. What other problems can we think of?
Well, in the story, there are children dropping out of school. In our community, I'm not so sure, but I see there are students struggling in the school, and they are having difficulty passing the exams.
All right, so we have so Jingren shared that in her community and where she goes to school, a lot of times students are really struggling. So maybe they're not dropping out of school like we saw in the book, but they're just having a really hard time. All right, so let's think about these problems. Do any of them seem similar? Or any of them could be the same? Or can any of them be connected?
I think the first two are more related because it's about the environmental issues.
Okay. So Jingren said, I don't know if you could see, maybe the first two, because they're related to the environment. So we have a lot of garbage out on the street and on the sidewalk. And then we also have some really dry weather. So those are both related to the areas that we live. All right. Now I want you to look at these problems and let's choose one altogether. So maybe we can have someone share what idea is their favorite or what one they'd like to focus on. Let's try to choose one altogether. So we have garbage on the street, dry weather and not using water, and students struggling in school. Which ones would you like to look at? We can do a vote.
Well, I could go volunteer in a school since I'm a teacher and help there, but we might be able to involve more people and make a difference in the environmental one at the top.
Okay, so maybe you're thinking one of the first two could have a lot of people. Jungyeon, which problem would you like to look at?
Yeah, I also prefer the first one because I think it affects everyone's life, no matter what context they are in.
Sally, what do you think? Do you like the first one? Do you agree that we can look at this problem together? Okay, great. So let's look at the first problem, garbage on the street, which is related to the environment that you live. Now, I want you to talk with your group, talk with your partner, and try to find a solution. Try to find a way to make it better, to solve the problem. Okay, so we're all going to look at the same problem, but different groups might come up with different ideas or different solutions. And that's okay. We can have more than one because we'll all work together. All right. So I would like you to choose a solution and think about how will it happen? Who do you need to help? What resources do you need? Think really deeply about how you can make it work. Okay? Any questions? So you're going to think of a solution and you're going to think about how to make it actually happen. Who needs to help? How much money will it cost? All of that. Okay? So you have about 5 minutes to think with your group, and then we'll come back together and have our solutions. Okay?
Are there kids in your neighborhood or in your area that you could convince them to come with you to pick up some stuff on just your street?
Yeah, I think that can work. Not only, yeah, I think the kids might be more available compared to some adults who are so used to the garbage and are quite passive. I don't know. I feel like, but I agree that we can advocate more people, teenagers especially, to involve in the project of, for example, launching a campaign to collect garbage on a mountain, or make it a hiking event that we are doing a hiking, but while we are hiking, we collect garbage. So make it fun. In that way, more people will be willing to join, but at the same time doing something good for the environment.
I'm thinking, what if you're out hiking, which really sounds like fun? What are you going to do with the garbage that you collect? We got to put it into something.
That's a good question. I feel like that we might need a guide, that we might need an expert who knows about the how to kind of put the garbage into different categories, and to give the attendees some basic information and even a lecture about the impact of the garbage to the world, and also how to separate them into different categories, and if not, what might be the implications. So I would suggest to recruit some experts and to ask them to lead the team.
1 more minute. So remember to think about costs and people and your solution, and you'll share out with everybody. 1 more minute.
Okay, practically speaking, how are you going to carry the garbage?
Using a
That's one of the things. Do you have bags? I think it's a good idea because you'll find all kinds of stuff to sort it and group it, because you have to dispose of it, some of the stuff differently. But if it's out on a hiking trail, how are you going to get it back?
Like, we can ask them to prepare the bag in advance. Like, we can even have a mini lecture before they head off on the mountain, that some lecture, like we can organize a small lesson, crash lesson, and to remind them the things that they need to prepare before they go on to the hiking.
Mhm.
What do you think?
Yeah, some kind of a bag. I don't know what's available. I mean, plastic
Right.
bags, cloth bags, baskets.
All right, sorry to interrupt, but we're gonna share our ideas now. If you're not fully finished, that's okay. We can talk about it more in the next class, that's all right. But I would like from each group, can one person present their solution to the problem, to the garbage in the street problem?
So Sally and I are thinking of a hiking plan.
Okay,
But while hiking, collecting garbage on the hiking trail. So the personnel that we need are volunteers, probably children or teenagers, because they are more easily to be motivated. And it's good to kind of develop their environmental awareness from the young age. So on one hand are the volunteers, on the other hand are the experts that we need for a crash course before they start, so that students the volunteers can understand the impact of the garbage. And also Sally made a really good point about what if they don't know how to what to do with the garbage, what to prepare to carry the garbage, and how do they know how to separate the garbage into different categories. So we think that we might need the experts to give a lecture before they head off to the hiking trail.
All right, that sounds like a good idea. So we're gonna do a little hike or a walk through the trail or through the community and have some volunteers and teenagers collect the garbage. And then maybe we have some experts or teachers who help share a lesson before about how to do it and what to expect. That sounds like a good idea. And it seemed like I heard you were talking before time right now about what materials you might need of how you're going to collect the garbage. So it's something to keep thinking about is what will you need to collect the garbage? Okay, so that's a really good idea. So if we had more students in our class, I would add some more ideas, but since it's just us, then that's the only idea we have, but I love it. So thank you all so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed listening to our book, Decision. And hopefully next time when you have to make a decision, you'll make the right one and you'll have a community of people to help you. So you're not all by yourself. Okay, thank you.